Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Gigi Kopelak. And my guest today is really hard to categorize because she is successful and talented in many areas. Please welcome the artist Dyan Rosenberg. Welcome, Dyan. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Gigi. Nice to be here.
Yeah. You know, I think that we met when you were designing your home, which was a long process, if I remember. It took you a couple of years. And we have here an image from the Bedford magazine that did a feature on your house. I know your house has also been featured in house tours, and for me it's one of the first houses I went into where I didn't want to rearrange the furniture. You know how like when you go visit somebody you say, well, I wish they'd put that couch over there or something like that, right? No, it's a fabulous house.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you designed the whole thing?
I did. It was a wonderful experience. It was something that just happened. It almost grew by itself. It was a magical piece of property, and everything just went right.
Right. And so we have an image of your studio, which is fabulous. You have this fabulous studio there, and then an image of, I think this is the area across from your kitchen, isn't it?
It's the bar area, but it's really open,
Right.
and part of the living room and part of the kitchen.
Okay, and did you design the cabinets and everything too?
I did. I did, and we set up a workshop in the basement of the house once it was all closed in, and built everything that you probably see on site.
Yeah. So that's just one of your many talents, because I know you had a business designing. You call yourself a space designer, would you say? Or
Well,
was it?
no, I call myself an architectural designer because I'm not an architect.
Okay.
But I do the designs of the actual home and then hire an architect. But I also am an interior designer, a furniture designer.
Okay, but I want to get to how you got to that point, because I think it's really, really interesting. We grew up in the Bronx,
True.
two Bronx girls, very close to each other, went to school almost across the street from each other. But then you moved up here to Scarsdale. But tell us about, you know, your art when you were younger. You were...
Well, I was never encouraged to be an artist. It was the one thing I found I could do that no one else could do. So I guess I clung to it. My parents were not at all encouraging, thought it would be a good idea for me to do that. And it just happened. It all just happened.
You were always drawing when you were a child?
Always drawing. I was a bad student, especially in Scarsdale High School. But they allowed you to take art as a major. So that meant I could take art 5 days a week and a minor another 2 days. And it really...
and you found yourself there.
I did. And so did my English teacher, who asked me to work on the faculty scenery.
Okay.
And she knew I was in trouble. She gave me this kind of as a gift. And after that, everything was great.
And then the other thing that's very similar between us is that you got married very young.
I did.
Yeah, and I love the story where you say, what was the first thing that happened? And you came home and you said, I'm in the business.
Yeah. I think it was, I have to remember which business it was, but I think it was the needlepoint business, where I had 3 children. Very young, I was sitting in a doctor's office doing a needlepoint canvas that I had designed because I didn't find anything I liked. And one of my neighbors met me there. She said, that's such a nice needlepoint. Where'd you get that? And I said, I made it. And she said, would you make me one? And I said, sure. I said, for $12.50, I'll be glad to make it.
So right away you knew how to charge. That was pretty good.
I came home and I said, guess what? I'm in the needlepoint business.
And so we have an image of a handbag that you had done. Right?
Yes.
But now you're not really needle pointing all of these at this point.
No, I'm not. I did it for my own pleasure.
Okay.
But I custom designed handbags, footstools, rugs, collected all those antique silver frames that you see on some of the handbags, and sold them in kits. To individuals as well as wholesale to certain stores.
Okay, so you really were in that business?
Yes, for 11 years.
Wow.
It lasted, and it was terrific.
Yeah, and then at the same time, though, you're still painting?
Always.
Yeah, so we have this image. Well, this isn't the making making the most of your closet.
Yes.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, that was a collage. I saw an article in the New York Times that said making the most of your closet. And I guess if you look at the image, you could see how probably not tortured, but tight things were for me. I felt like I was in a closet. And somehow it just happened. The collage just came to be.
So you're painting your own, or you're doing something in art that reflects your own life.
I think it's pretty hard not to do that if you're an artist.
So, but it's different when you have a commission and you're doing something that way versus what you're doing when your own art.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's why they work so well for me.
Yeah, because you were doing both sides.
I had to please a client in all of my business endeavors, whether it was furniture, home, needlepoint. But then I always had my own art that was just me, for me.
Yeah. You weren't interested in selling that at all.
I have never been interested in selling my work. And I told you earlier that one of the pictures we have here, I finally sold this weekend to a very good friend.
All right,
and I think it's the right thing.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that one. But so then you're in the needlepoint business for 11 years, and how do you get to the? You got a bunch of socks or something. No, it wasn't socks. What was it?
They were coats and jackets.
Okay, but something you got something.
I had a lot of yarn left over.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
From the needlepoint.
All right.
So I hired knitters. I put an ad in the paper because I took all that old yarn and I knitted and crocheted clothing. I did the patterns and I put the things together. They knitted the pieces or crocheted a sleeve, and that's what you're talking about, the leg warmers.
Oh, the leg warmers. I knew it was something. Okay.
I bought 12 pairs of Afghanistan leg warmers at that time.
Right.
And I built all these coats around them.
Okay.
I used them as sleeves.
Okay. So that was the idea. You saw the leg warmers
That's right.
and you said, these would make a coat.
That's right.
Who would have thunk it?
That's exactly how it happened.
You could see something else in a leg warmer than most of us see.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And at the same time, you're still painting?
Still painting. The link to everything I've done is having a home-based business. So when people were in my home buying needlepoint, looking at coats before they went to a gallery, they always saw different things that may interest them, like who designed your home? Well, I did. How about doing my bedroom? Or I like that pocketbook over there. Where'd you get it? Well, I designed it. Well, how about make one for me? So it was every bit of my business life has gone that way.
Really?
I've never advertised.
That's amazing.
It's all word of mouth and having good friends.
And is that how you got into the furniture business?
Yes. Yeah, well, it was the same thing. Once I was in decorating and design of homes, we'd need a table. I couldn't find a table. So with the carpenters that were not furniture makers or cabinet makers, and my skills, my limited skills of not being too astute in cabinetry, I designed a table and they built it. Or then somebody needed a bed. I designed a bed, had it made. And it's
but you
always
sort of
been.
have a signature with your furniture, because a lot of them have these little squares.
Yeah, little checkers.
Little checkers. Is that something that repeats itself for a reason, or?
Well, sometimes when you don't know what to do or when something's missing, you kind of fall back on patterning.
Okay.
And pattern has always been something that, I don't know, I love. I can't live without. It's just something that, it's just there.
Pattern and color.
Pattern and color.
Yeah, your colors are amazing. Like if you
Thank
look at
you.
the painting of the girls. Yeah, that's, if you look at my work, we're talking about similarities.
Yeah.
Everything is subdued, and you're out there, woof, with those colors.
I can't help it.
Well, you love those colors.
I do love them.
Yeah.
And I feel like they love me.
Okay.
Because they talk back to me.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, that happens with art, isn't it? Though
Yeah.
the art takes over. I don't know. You don't go to a painting and say, "Well, this is what I'm going to paint today," do you?
Never.
No, yeah.
Never.
So you allow it. You work abstractly, as if.
Well, I work both ways. Right now, I'm working figuratively, but it was very important for me to work abstractly. And people think that's very easy, but go try to find the road into abstraction.
No, it's hard.
It's not
but
easy.
I guess what I'm trying to say is not that you're painting in abstract, but you work abstractly. I always think that when you're working realistically, you have an image, and then you work on that image. Where abstractly, it could be a realistic finished thing, but you're not really starting that way. You're starting like, here's a piece of it, here's another piece, and
it grows.
It grows.
It grows.
And you allow it to happen.
I start with whatever I can. The curse of a blank canvas.
Oh, I know.
Okay?
Like
So
the fear of a blank
If I
canvas.
have to take a brush and just do like that, or
Right.
make an X, or
Right.
just do anything,
Right.
then I could go to step 2, and then 3, and before I know it, I'm building,
Right.
Right.
And you always start with those bright colors.
Well, sometimes I wind up with those bright colors. I've learned how to layer. I look for that pop. When you get that,
You
that.
Well, what I always say is the agony and the ecstasy. That it happens and I love it, and the next day I go in and say, "Oh, where was it?" I don't know. It's not that easy.
I know your work. I've seen your work. You
But-
know all about that.
Well, so let's show some of those. Would you call the garden with the logs an abstract piece, or?
Yes. Well, it's semi-abstract. I think most of my work has a little bit of, not realism, but it has something you can identify, even my abstractions. I was at the Vermont Studio School for 3 weeks, 3 wonderful weeks, and they had the most beautiful gardens that somebody planted just around, and I was really, really touched by them. So when I went in the studio, I just started with flowers, and I had the opportunity of working with Sam Gillian and lots of other Michael Goldberg, great abstraction painters, abstract painters, and they egged me on, more, more. And I came out with, there were 4 of these that I did that I love. They're very large.
Okay. And the Vermont studio is like a residency. You
Yes.
go there, you stay there, they give you a
Yes.
studio, they feed you.
Like you did.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was quite an experience.
you really.
I went back twice.
You did?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I like the residency where they don't feed you, because you put food in front of me and I eat too much. So I like that.
They grow their own food up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
At
they
the
have,
Vermont?
well, some of it, in organic gardens. It's part of the experience.
Yeah. And are you living here in Westchester at this point? You're in Scarsdale?
Oh, no, I was living in Rybrook.
Oh, okay.
I raised my family in Rybrook.
Okay. And at this point, when you're at the Vermont Studio Center, is this
I'm trying to think.
your children are grown at this
Oh,
point?
yeah.
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 So you're really on and
Yes.
you're designing you're no longer doing the needlepoint.
No, that lasted 11 years. I finished off all the yarn with the coats,
Okay.
and I went on to design work, interior, exterior.
Yeah, and tell the story about how you someone came into you and said, could you do something? And
Yeah, somebody asked me if they would, if I could design their bedroom. And I said, sure.
you never said no.
No. Now I say no to a
okay.
lot of things, mostly because I'm not interested. If it's a challenge is my middle name.
Okay.
If it's something I've never done and it has the slightest bit of interest, even if I had no idea how to do it, I probably would say yes.
Okay. And so you came home to your husband and said, wait, I'm in the design business.
Exactly.
I love that.
That's exactly what happened. And I went from her bedroom doing blue and white, which is not a favorite color of mine, but I considered it really, needlepoint and interior design was really my art education, because I didn't go to school formally. And for me to design a bedroom for somebody using the color blue that I do not like pushed me in a place that I would never have gone if it wasn't a job. So I learned a lot about the color blue working on that bedroom. And I guess it's a cumulative effect that I took everything I learned with me to the next step. But I do like doing things I never did before.
I can hear that. I can hear
That I
yeah.
like.
Yeah. And that blue came up in your work, though, sometimes, too. I
Yeah,
see that now.
yeah.
You must like the color blue now.
Well, I know how to use it.
Okay.
I know how to use it.
All right. And so we have Greenport Storm. Can you talk a little bit about that painting?
Well, I was in Greenport with somebody. We went for the summer. We rented a house and turned the house into a studio. We brought sheets and covered all the owner's furniture and turned it into this white sheeted studio. And
so wait, you rented just a regular apartment
A house.
a house, and you brought sheets and covered everything so you wouldn't get paint on them.
and also not see them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, other people's belongings or colors or furnishings that I don't like are very disturbing.
No kidding.
That's another reason why I do what I do. Because most things I don't like,
Okay.
you know, so I've learned to make
Do
my
you
own.
feel like it influences you in a way?
It disturbs me.
It disturbs
It bothers me.
you. Okay.
If I see something that the only thing that I could pretty much put myself into is nature without ever being disturbed, no matter what it is. But other things, clothing, other styles,
Right.
it disturbs me.
Okay, it's interesting. Okay, so we're in Greenport, and you've covered everything in white.
Yes.
And
we
you're painting
started to
away.
paint.
And you started.
And the weather, we were on the beach. The house was on the beach. It was very stormy. And you know, when you're on the beach and you have no distractions, you could really feel the storm. And it wasn't that I went to paint the storm, but after the picture was finished, I said, I know what that is. That was
Oh,
that
that's
storm.
interesting. Right.
You know,
right,
I
right.
never go to, you know, do something and say, I think I'll paint the breeze
Right.
or the
the
pool
storm,
or the storm. Because I couldn't do it.
Right.
So
Yeah, I find that also. I don't know what I'm painting or what it's about in my life until after it's done.
Yeah.
And then I say, oh, well, now I understand
Yeah,
that.
I got
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, and I got that.
I think that's true with all the things I've done.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how did
pretty
the
much.
goddesses happen?
The goddesses was when I had a little furniture factory, which was really a garage someplace. And I used to always pick up all the little, you know, things that the carpenter used to throw away. There
Like
were
Louise Nevelson.
I guess they were circles, they were, you know, arches, or whatever was left over. And I'd been saving them and saving them and saving them. And I was living up here in North Salem in a rented house.
While you were designing your house.
Right. And I had all these things, of course, I took with me. I didn't really have a place to paint at that time. But I had a big table that I brought with me. So I just put my mind to it. And I worked on those pieces. And I carved all the heads. And I was able to paint and, you know, embellish.
Right.
But those are all pieces left over from furniture.
Found objects.
But
Found- yeah.
of the furniture I had designed.
Right.
So somehow they, you know, had this
It has you in it.
connection.
Yeah. And they are in a show right now at the Blue Door Gallery,
Yes.
Women About Women.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So they had a life. Because
Yes.
this is how many years ago that you made?
17 years ago.
Was when you designed the house.
I think it was 17, yeah, 15, 17.
I can't believe it's been that long.
I know, me either.
I know. That's great. Yeah.
Time's marching.
Yeah. So the most recent work is that the tomatoes or the still life. All of a sudden, you started to get into still life. Or,
Yes,
yeah.
well, the story with the still lifes is when I was in Scarsdale High School painting. Most of the class were boys and friends of mine, you know. And I painted flowers. And my friend Tom said to me, well, that's okay for a girl.
Oh,
So that was the end of flowers. I
Right.
never painted flowers again in my life until it was about, I guess in 2000. It was just I wanted to do flowers and still lifes, something I'd never done. And I know it was because of that. So I finally...
So you were finally able to get rid of Tom. And,
That's right.
yeah.
I finally just sat down and painted 14 still lifes.
Okay.
I try and work in series. When I get into something, like instead of one goddess, I like to make as many, until I work it out.
Right, right. But now, I can't imagine you setting up a still life.
Well, some of these still lifes I have, they have objets that I own. You know, I might have put that dish there just to be able to look at it and see it a little bit, but then it developed.
Right.
Or I took a plant that I owned and put it there just to start something that I could get into the flowers.
Right.
Because, you know.
And is that the one you sold, the tomatoes?
That's the one I sold to my friend from high school, Bunny.
That's so funny. You've been friends with her all this time? Or you just came?
All this time.
Because I just recently got in touch with someone that I knew in high school, and we're getting together in a couple of months.
We have a 50th high school reunion in October.
Oh, wow.
And Tom will be there, too.
Please bring some pictures and show them what you're doing. Yeah.
I will.
And then Birds of a Feather, where does that come in now? Because we've left the yarn and everything, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much, except for my own knitting and crocheting that, you know, I'm always doing something. Right now I'm making hats for my new gallery out of that same yarn. I managed to have some left over.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful needlepoint Persian yarn.
Should we mention your new gallery now, as long as you brought it up, because you've started?
I'd love to.
Okay, you've started a gallery, and tell about it.
I started a gallery with 5 other friends in Croton Falls, New York, called Arts, A-R-T-S, meaning artists ready to sell. And it's a very large space. We rent space to artists and take small commissions. We like to think we're a artist for artist gallery.
Okay.
And it's only been open 3 months, and we're doing very well, and we like it.
And you have an opening very soon.
We have an opening on May 8th.
But is it every month you have an opening on a certain day? Is it a certain Saturday or Sunday?
First Saturday.
The first Saturday?
Except for this month, which will be on the 2nd, will be May 8th.
Okay, but most of the time on a second Saturday, if you go to...
First Saturday of every month.
Okay. The first Saturday of every month.
Yes.
If you go to Croton.
Yes. 3 to 6.
3 to 6 on a Saturday, you'll be...
Because our show changes every month.
Okay, so they're all new artists coming in every month. About how many artists do the show?
Well, I think we have about 23 these last 2 months.
And you're doing everything. You have clothing, you have jewelry, you have art on the walls, you have everything. And you're ready to sell. See?
That's right. Yeah. And so are the other artists.
All right. And so Birds of a Feather is...
Well, Birds of the Feather is I went back to Brookfield Craft Center and to learn some new thing. I took a basket weaving class, regular baskets, and I learned how to make a shaker basket. And when I got home, I forgot the stitch. I just couldn't remember how, and I was so frustrated. What I used to make these baskets is watercolor paper.
Wait, Birds of a Feather is a basket?
I think so, unless they're baskets with birds on them. Oh. I don't know which one you are referring to, but they're little baskets with a little yellow bird on the top.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was a basket.
They're baskets woven out of watercolor paper painted on both sides, put through a pasta machine to give you the strips.
The strips. Very cool.
And then you learn how to, there's a special bottom, and you know, beautiful baskets. Okay. But by the time I got home, I just couldn't, they're complicated.
Yeah.
And I was determined.
Okay.
I had all this cut up paper. So I just, you know.
Made them more abstract, which was your signature.
I just did them.
Yeah. And then a couple of years ago, you had a show up at the Ward Pound Reservation with a new thing that you got into. Why not? Which was, I remember you calling me and saying, did I know anybody that taught?
Yeah.
Right, that's right. And so,
just for email, I couldn't do email.
You couldn't even do it. And here the whole show was digital images that you had done on the computer. Amazing.
Well,
and they were great.
I was the repository of the archives of my family. When my mother died, I got baskets of photographs. When my father died, I got baskets of photographs. I had photographs all over the place. And I decided that the best interest of my children, I should go through the pictures and tell them who the people are, because they're never going to know.
Right.
So I had them all out on my dining room table. I had a box for Stacy and a box for Joey for my children, and I was gonna put the boxes away. And it took a week, and I went to bed one night. I got up in the middle of the night, saying, "My God, this is a gold mine." This is a gold mine. I had to figure out what to do with them. And I had in my computer at that time, I was much better. I knew Photoshop.
Right.
I determined not to let this pass me by.
Another challenge.
Another challenge. If my grandchildren could do it,
Right.
I had to learn.
The 4-year-old, right? If he could do it, right?
God. So I was able to take those images of my family. I think you have one called La Senorita. That's my Aunt Doris.
Okay.
And put them in and pattern and in Photoshop that you know, of course, also.
I really don't know how to do that. I
Oh.
don't. I think it's an art that you
It's a
can,
digital
that you figured
collage.
out. Transparencies and one
Yep.
on top of the other,
Yep.
and then color and
then you
figuring
can
the whole
paint.
thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so exciting,
Yeah.
so exciting.
And then you did a whole series of those. Small though.
Yeah.
They're all pretty little. but
Yes.
They're like little jewels.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I really like them a lot. Now are you still doing them, or you
Well,
moved on?
no, I kind of moved on to do other things.
Yeah.
That's why I went back to Brookfield to learn ceramics. I'm always searching, and I always bring it back to my paintings. Wherever I go off the canvas, when I come back, there's a new awareness, something new I've learned. I couldn't even tell you what it is, but I do like the third dimension as much as two-dimension.
Well, so for third dimensions, we have these monsters. There was another,
That's right.
again with the yarn, isn't
I
it?
learned felting.
Oh, felting. That's which is confusing. It's like a pack of felt that you take out pieces of it.
It's unspun yarn.
Okay.
It's combed, fluffy cotton. I mean, wool.
Okay.
And with a needle, a special needle, you can take like it would be clay or any other modeling material and then the way you attach it to itself is with this needle.
Okay.
It's barbed and it makes the felt, you couldn't pull it apart.
Okay.
But you add to it, you mouths, all kinds of things.
All monsters.
And again, I was able to use my wood pieces because I mounted them on other pieces from leftover furniture.
Okay. And then I guess bring you right up to the modern day, because we have very little time left. Is the latest thing you're doing with the furniture these natural birch? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then your signature, sort of that geometric leg, is with, for instance, the table.
Well, I'm trying to make them transitional. I don't want them to be rustic furniture. I don't want them to be modern furniture. I want them to be something that can be placed in anyone's home. So, it's called transitional, that it's forever, goes any place.
And do you have a name for these, or is it Dyan Rosenberg and
It's
Company?
Dyan well, that company is called Rosewood.
Okay.
Rosewood,
All right.
but it's all under my name.
So another challenge. I can't wait to
I'm
find
looking.
out. I can't wait to find out what you're going to do next. But
I'm
you know
looking.
what? We have no more time left,
Oh,
so
my
we can't.
goodness.
This has been so enjoyable. Thank you so much, Dyan,
Thank you, Gigi, for asking me.
and thank you for watching.